are so thrilled to have the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino as our host sponsor. And many of us may have attended an event at the Hard Rock in the kind of conference space. That's actually not where this event is being held. It's
Okay.
being held in a new room. It's called the multi-purpose room. We'll have a lot of directional signage and there's plenty of parking, so don't worry. But this room is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It has space for 270 people. And as Dawn mentioned, last time we had a little less than 220 folks. So we have about 40 seats left as of this morning. I checked from a registration perspective. So this podcast or this discussion is very timely because we certainly
Right.
want people to register quickly and assure that they get their seat because I do believe there will be a waiting list. We also have several sponsors that are participating in the programming, including we'll get to hear again from Nicole Morgan with Resolute PR, who is our speaker sponsor. So she gets to introduce you, Meg. And then we also have someone new to us from BOK Financials. She is the COO of Wealth Management for BOK Financial, and her name is Carrie Clausen Porter. And she'll be giving some open introductory comments. And then we also have a dignitary from the Cherokee Nation speaking to us and welcoming us to this space, a Secretary of State. So we are very pleased to have a very impressive slate of women to kind of acknowledge and welcome everyone in the room and participate in the program. But of course, you are the reason why everyone is showing up. So we want to hear a little bit more about your content so that even if for some reason someone can't attend on April 23rd, they really understand kind of the context and maybe can take a little nugget away from today's conversation.
Yeah, so as you all know, I speak and write on the topic of self-worth, that relationship that we have with ourselves. And I have three books, two of which are nonfiction. But this last summer, my debut novel came out, The Inconvenient Unraveling of Gemma Sinclair. And it's about a mom who is a therapist, and she's just given birth to her second child. And she has a estranged family member coming to visit. And when he visits, the child gets injured and it starts an unraveling. In Gemma, who's struggling with postpartum depression, though she's in quite denial about that. And so the incident that happens to her child triggers some memories that happened, an incident that happened to her when she was a child. And so now she's faced with the unraveling of family secrets and family dynamics. And this book sort of came out of my own unraveling that happened to me as being a professional working mother and thinking about all the ways in which I wasn't maybe cared for or shown up for. And so the talk is really about a more purposeful unraveling where we notice the five parts that can happen to us when we are able to notice that we're uncomfortable. We can figure out what is at the root of that. We can tease out and do the work and then reweave something back together, whether it's our career or our life, but it's essentially really pulling at the threads of what can get us all bound up and to make sure that we don't stay tangled up. And so I'm so excited to talk about this. I've been doing this talk around with the book, and engaging with women about this conversation has been so fun because I feel like it's given them a vocabulary to say like, oh, I unraveled just today because I spilled coffee on myself, right? These like moments where we're just uncomfortable, but also these bigger moments of trying to manage work and life, trying to have it all. And just thinking about our life in that way is really fun. So I'm excited. We're going to have Magic City Books on site selling books, but I'm also just excited to engage with the women and see what they think about unraveling. And of course, I'll have, as I always do, tips and tricks on things you can do to self-reflect and move forward.
People who don't always have a place at the table. That makes a difference too, because especially in so many businesses that have male domination in the C-suite, then this is a good way to become introduced to more opportunities for them. So I mean, I'll tell you, it was overwhelming, to have a wait list like we did last,
Right.
and that happened quickly even. I mean, it sold out very quickly. So it shows that there's a lot of people that do see a need for this and
Mhm.
want this, opportunity to happen for sure.
The reason I love women's events, just at the baseline, is I just love a room full of women. And I know there will be men there, and I hope there are male allies there, but the energy of women in a room, there's just nothing like it. And I'll give one example, but when I talk to men and women, and I say something from the stage that is funny, the men laugh with their mouth closed and sort of chuckle like this, and the women will open their mouths and throw their head back, and it's so funny to watch the difference. And so I think there's such a liveliness when there's a room full of women. So I'm always excited to speak to a room full of women. So on.
What I love about your talks often is that you may take a story, whether it's fictional or factual, and then kind of break down not only, what's occurred, but then, steps to take, practical
Yeah.
steps to take that are memorable, and easy to recall, to kind of walk through from kind of step A to step B. And my guess is, Dawn, as you've gone throughout your career, you've probably counseled and coached people that maybe have how do I say, like, arrived at a point where they feel stuck,
Yeah.
or not exactly sure what to do next. Do you have any reflections on that, and just, any advice that you've shared, or, if you found yourself in that position, kind of, what were those things that kind of got you unstuck?
That's an interesting question because it's what's difficult when people talk to you and ask you for information is for me is they're never exactly like me. So my story is not going to exactly, reverberate with them, and my how I moved forward or something isn't going to be exactly the same. So, it is, I do tend to just share my own
Hmm.
experiences, and then hopefully that somebody sees from that similarities maybe, or encouragement. But it's hard to, age differences, cultural differences, even business industry differences. It's hard for it to be. I'm certainly not a big advice giver,
Mm.
but have shared many stories for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like, Meg, there's kind of a bit of a universal quality to some of your talks. How do you manage to kind of speak those moments of wisdom into people's kind of universes where, I mean, everybody is so different and everybody's context and perspective is so unique?
So in answer to that question, I think first and foremost, I am a professor, and I am a professor at the University of Oklahoma. So my whole job, my whole livelihood is taking big, sometimes theoretical concepts and making them make sense to a student and making it relevant to their work or relevant to their life. So that is just a practice I'm in when it comes to keynoting, something I've done for over 10 years. I take such joy in doing the exact same thing. So if we're talking about something really big, maybe even existential, as I don't know my own worth, I don't know what I want to do next, I feel stuck. It's the same idea of taking something that big and sort of breaking it down for a conversation. I like to think that I'm a unique speaker because usually people who write novels are not keynoting, and people who keynote are not writing novels. And my talks don't seem a lot like other people's talks. I have a real visual storytelling quality about them. So I take a lot of excitement and pride in thinking about how can I take something that's so hyper specific to me or to Gemma or to whomever, kind of Dawn, like what you're talking about. How can what I have to say relate to you? And thinking about the audience as I think about my students. Where are they at? What do they need? How will this make sense to them? And just kind of weaving that all together, to borrow from my own theme, and just making it hopefully more than just a talk, but an experience where, if nothing else, if you don't take away anything else from my talk, you're going to have a blast while I'm talking. You're going to laugh, you're going to be engaged. Hopefully you'll love the visual elements. But I do think that people walk away with some really great hard skills and life lessons. But at the end of the day, if we just have fun for an hour and feel seen, that's what I want to do on stage, is just make these women feel seen. I've got to be understood is
Yeah.
what's happening in these women's spaces, is the need to say, does this happen to you? Yeah, it does happen to me. I've seen that. And the effort that we might see in workplaces or in life to maybe squelch what we feel, or tamp down our experiences, those are spaces that you all are providing that now say, okay, let's open it up and talk about it. And I love that.
Mhm. Yeah.